Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazleton Campus. Better together. Thanks for joining us on SSP TV for Out of Left Field. I'm Ken Cara, and here's the deal. If you go to oxforddictionaries.com, the second definition for left field is the phrase out of left field, meaning an unconventional or surprising position. And that's what this show is all about, different kinds of sports stories. We're looking for stories that go beyond the stats and beyond the scores and hit at the home and the heart of why people of all different ages and backgrounds enjoy sports. Our first segment is about, in my opinion, the most interesting man in Hazleton area sports, maybe even the world. The story is about a plumber, a husband, a father, a man who throws great parties, and yes, a man who snuck into Harman Geist Stadium.
The Markadium.
The Marchetti home has its own 38th parallel, a line that can't be crossed without some serious repercussions. Ron Marchetti can fill one portion of his home with as much sports memorabilia as he wants, but he can't cross the line into the living room. Marchetti has made good use of his space.
How about this? This is, you know how people have the old Italians have the old Blessed Mother and Jesus? Yep. This is my two heroes. You know, Blanchard and Davis.
An Army fan since he was 5 years old, Ron Marchetti joined the Army at 21. He was born a few years before the actual 38th parallel was drawn up between North and South Korea after World War II. His vast sports memorabilia collection started with a single comic book and an interesting hobby.
But I used to make models of stadiums, and I used to do baseball. I cut them up and make models. And I had I had a model of Coliseum, Baltimore Yankee Stadium. I had all these models. And that's what I used to do. I was sort of a weird. I didn't go out like other kids. And they were beautiful. I wish I still had them. They were really nice. I spent hours and hours and hours. I had my little room up there, my desk up in the third floor of the Wyoming Holly, and I made models out of baseball cards and airplane glue. Actually, years that passed, the glue dried up and they came apart. My mother threw them away, you know, because I thought they turned out to be junk, you know. My wife's the same thing. She thinks a lot of this stuff is junk.
Now his garage houses the Markadium, and it's filled with priceless pieces of local and national sports history. While she doesn't appreciate the collection as much as others, Marchetti's wife, Chris, knows all this stuff means a lot to him. How much? Watch Marchetti's eyes when he talks about the old Cranberry Ballpark in Hazleton.
You know, there's not a picture in, and I'll challenge anybody to show me a picture of Cranberry Ballpark. There's none available. That picture when you walked in there, I have a picture of Cranberry. That's the only picture that. And there's pictures of Cranberry.
How did that happen? That was such a special
I don't know,
place
because nobody took pictures back then. It wasn't like now, you pull out your phone and take a picture. They didn't have cell phones.
You talked about Harman Geist Stadium, but how important was Cranberry to the sports?
Oh, Cranberry Ballpark was unbelievably. It was the place to be. I mean, that was like being in the majors. If you played in Cranberry Park, that was like getting to the majors, you know. But nobody has a picture from back of home plate looking out to see the breaker over the right field fence, and they had a man-made scoreboard, and they had ads around. Just like Ebbets Field, it was. I remember it, but I would like to see it. And that picture I have there is all right, but that's looking at the home plate. They might have pictures of teams with Cranberry in the background, but they don't have a real picture.
While making that statement, Marchetti wasn't looking at me or the camera. It's like he was actually looking at Cranberry Ballpark. There is one other picture of the old ballpark, and it lives inside of Marchetti's photographic sports memory. And lucky for local sports fans, he can paint with his words.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine, like the Rain Man. I don't know what I had for supper last night, but I could remember what happened. Yeah, it's just funny. I don't know why that is. I could flash back all the way to 1949. I guess I was about maybe 9 years old. And I remember the Hazel Township runner was running for a touchdown, Jimmy Casper, and he tripped over a dog. A dog came on the field. He tripped over the dog, and as the first game, and as the second game, he broke his leg. He was done for the year.
What do they call on that? What do you do?
He was credited with the touchdown,
okay.
But still he was done. That was his last carry.
Growing up, Marchetti didn't make a Little League team, so him and his friends formed their own league. He never tried out for the Hazleton High School football team, and he regrets it to this day, but he's given so much to the program he loves thanks to his work with the Hazleton Area Quarterback Club.
Why was sports always so important to you? I mean, obviously there's people who are fans, and then there's Ron Marchetti. So why was it such?
Well, I don't know why, because I lived in Wyoming and Holly. I mean, I was right by the stadium. I mean, I just so we always played ball. I always liked sports ever since I was a kid. But I mean, I remember when Wyoming Street was two ways, Hazel Township, Markadium, Hazel, bands would march up Wyoming Street into the stadium before games. There were so many things that happened at that stadium. That's why it was always a mess.
The stadium was really the life.
Oh, it was really, yeah. I was always there. I think everything. We used to sneak into the games, and we used to I used to plan my attack during the week because I lived right there, dig the hole or under the fence and camouflage it, And back then, city police used to patrol the fences with billy clubs, not just, city police.
So if they caught you sneaking in, was that the consequence?
No, you would get 3 days to Kissel with no bread and water. That's all you would have for 3 days if you got caught.
Did you get
No,
caught?
I never got caught. Came close, but that was the punishment. That's what they told us anyway. But now city police did that. Now they and the admission probably was 35 cents. But at that time, was a lot of money. But it was the challenge. It wasn't the money. It was the challenge.
For close to 20 years, Marchetti has been sharing his love of sports, and in particular local sports, in local publications and right here on SSP TV. His articles and segments have become so popular that when people see him, even if they don't know him personally, 2 words come to mind.
Till Friday, be a good sport. And stay loose. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Till Monday, be a good sport. And stay loose. I'll tell you where Stay Loose came from. It came from a guy by the name of Charlie Reinmiller. He used to always say that, and I always liked that. Stay loose. He lived right across the street. I even had a big party here once on July 4th. We had over 500 people. It was called the Stay Loose Party. It was right before, and we had, after unbelievable, we almost had 500 people here. We went through 500 pounds of ribs. Unbelievable. It was unbelievable. We had two bands here from New York. He got 2 bands from New York. And we had a stage built in the back, and this guy did all this. He did it. All you have to worry about is getting the people here. Well, I got the people here. But it was so many. They had a polka band here, and they had a show. They had 10 clowns came from New York. We even had a hot air balloon that went across the street, and it was illegal to have it. It was stopped, it caught on fire, but then they finally had it. So we had to make it was for Jerry's kids. We had to give them they only went up 40 feet. It was on a train that went up 40 feet, and then we were charging for that for Jerry's kids for Labor Day. But it was just a thing that got way out of control, and it was in the paper front. But it was probably the greatest private party that ever happened in Hazleton.
Marchetti has a lot of sports memorabilia, but he has even more sports stories.
Here's a game from 1940, Hazel Township and Hazleton. But I have all the programs from 1939. I don't know. It's a long story how I got them.
When Out of Left Field comes right back, it's time for the pre-game show. Stay tuned. Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazleton Campus. Better together. Hello again, this is the first episode of Out of Left Field. Thanks for watching. Can you really enjoy baseball without a hot dog? How annoying would it be if during football there was no scoreboard and you had to keep the down and distance inside your head? There's a lot that goes into the fan experience at sporting events, and tonight, or right now, we're going to take a look behind the scenes at Harman Geist Stadium. To get to this moment, it takes hours of hard work and dedication. And I'm not just talking about the football players and coaches, I'm talking about this guy lifting these huge bags of fries. Corey Scarcella shoulders a lot of the responsibility at the concession stand at Harman Geist Stadium. He works alongside other parents who have kids in the Hazleton area marching band, serving up cookies that are made on site, along with third base hoagies and Longo's pizza, and yes, lots of French fries.
I usually start about 8 o'clock in the morning when all the deliveries come. They start dropping the products that we sell. And I start to stocking things and getting the food ready and everything to go out on the show for the show tonight. And then when everything is done, I stay here all day till the field show comes on. And all the parents come into the stand and they help me cook and get everything sold out of the stand to make extra money for the band association to operate and do what they do for the school.
What time are you out of here at night?
By the time the game's over, I probably won't get done tonight till probably about 11 o'clock.
The Hazleton area marching Cougars are responsible for the pregame show, but this is a story about the show before the pregame show. This is how a football Friday night comes together at Harman Geist Stadium in the city of Hazleton.
Check 1, 2. Check 1. Check 1, 2.
For 3 decades, Mary Makuta has been a dental hygienist for the Hazleton Area School District. In 1997, she took on another responsibility.
My son was wrestling for the Cougars at the time, and we were at a tournament, and the place was swamped. And Ella McBride, who's one of the ticket collectors, she's been doing it much longer than that. She said, I really need your help. Would you consider selling tickets? So she pulled me into and it was insane. It was one of the most crowded events that I've ever been at. And ever since then, I've been doing it. And it's fun to see kids coming up and they'll look at me and say, oh, you checked my teeth last week. So yeah, it's fun. It's nice having them see me in another job.
Makuta's teammate is Mary Beth Cassano, who's the financial secretary at Maple Manor Elementary Middle School. She's been working at the ticket booth since 1997.
We're here till the end of the third quarter. We sell, then we count out the money, and we get to watch the last few minutes of the game.
And you have a football and shirt on you.
I have a nephew on the team, Joey Basic, and his younger brother is now on the junior high team. So I have a couple years now that I want, and I would really love to be able to watch the games, but I'll go to all the away games and make sure I see him play there.
Football is great, but it's family that fills the stands. For 75 seasons, people have been coming to Harman Geist Stadium to cheer on their loved ones. This is head coach Mike Brennan's first season on the sideline for Hazleton area.
There's a football culture, the tradition of Harman Geist Stadium, you have the tradition of the Hazleton area quarterback club and what those guys have done for a number of years, and I appreciate everything they've done, and they really welcomed me. You have the family atmosphere we're trying to develop here in the program. It's exciting. It's exciting for the parents to see their sons play, and the sons wear red and white. And hopefully it's exciting for the community as a whole. Hopefully we put a good product in the field, we continue to get better, and that's what our goal is, to get better so the people here can be proud of what we're putting on the field.
About 4 or 5 members of the quarterback club were waiting outside of this shed filled with Hazleton area merchandise for Ron Marchetti. Marchetti, who eventually shows up with the key, never played it down for the local high school, but he has worked so hard over the years for the program he loves. Rocco Colangelo Jr., whose father was instrumental in forming Hazleton's annual Fun Fest celebration, is the current president of the quarterback club.
This is a year-round program that we do. We do multiple fundraisers throughout the year. The night of the game is a great night for us to get to come and enjoy watching the players out there, watching them perform and actually execute. And it's an opportunity for us to mingle with the parents and the crowd and get to sell them some things.
Up in the press box, Don Carleon is getting the scoreboard ready. He usually gets up here around 6 p.m. to make sure everything is working properly. One time, instead of counting down from 12 minutes during the game, the clock started counting up toward 13 minutes. That was a big problem, but usually it's smooth sailing.
It's sort of fun up here, but then again, you don't get to see much of the game, and you're always watching the official. As a scoreboard operator, you need to watch the official, his hand signals, and you don't get to watch a lot of the game action, but it's fun, and we enjoy it. We have a good time up here.
Is it worth it? Why keep coming back and doing it?
Because they need somebody to do it. It's nerve-wracking, and like I said, I want to stay active in athletics. I've always been in athletics, and it's just a way to keep active in it. And I never get tired of it, so it's no big deal, for me to be here.
There's no scoreboard for the volunteers, and it's hard to keep stats for them other than fries served and tickets sold. The volunteers do it for all different reasons, and all of their work comes together to create another memorable Football Friday in Hazleton. Next up, we'll tell you how and why the government is getting involved with student-athlete safety. Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazleton Campus. Better together. The inning break is over. It's time to get back out to left field. Thanks for coming back. Sports safety is a hot topic right now, and everyone has something to say about it, including the government of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. According to a saturation study done by the Pennsylvania Athletic Trainer Society, 87% of PIAA member secondary schools provide some level of athletic training service for athletes, either full-time, part-time, through a clinic, or per diem. That wasn't always the case. Certified athletic trainer Mike Magic Maseko has been working for the Hazleton Area School District for over 3 decades.
I think it was a slow change. Okay, I think, what happened is, once and trust me, it took me a lot of convincing the Hazleton Area School Board to put me on as the trainer for football only. It started with football only. And I talked them into it, and they said, let's give this guy a chance and see what he could do. And I think once, the coaches and the parents saw what a certified athletic trainer does, they said, wow, this is a pretty good thing here. Here's a guy who's not worried about wins and losses. He's worried about taking care of my kid. And so when parents of football start seeing, what I was doing, then basketball parents and wrestling parents said, hey, if football can have somebody like that, maybe we should. So, I went from doing football only, then they start adding boys basketball, girls basketball, wrestling, and it just progressed now to where you take care of everybody. So it was a slow progression of, once people saw what we did as a certified trainer, they said, hey, we got to go with this. And I think other school districts started to see it too, saying, hey, Hazelton has that guy down there, he takes care of these kids, maybe we should take a look at that. So it was a slow evolving process of schools getting certified trainers.
The man who received the nickname Magic for his work has watched the world change from the sidelines.
So what they do when they got hurt? What do the kids do?
Coaches were the ones.
And if it was really bad after, you go to a doctor, or
that was a coach's decision. I mean, coaches, they not only taught these kids how to play whatever sport they're playing, but they were responsible for taking care of these kids when they got hurt.
Jim Paisley started coaching in the Hazelton Area School District 5 years ago. Now the head coach of the high school girls soccer team, he runs practices and makes up game plans. Thanks to Act 59 of 2012 and Act 101 of 2011 in the state of Pennsylvania, Paisley must also take a class on the dangers of sudden cardiac arrest and complete a concussion certification every year. Coaching at the high school level demands a lot of time, but Paisley doesn't mind giving up more of his free time to keep his kids safe.
There's no worse feeling than being in a situation and you feel absolutely helpless. So it does take a little bit more of your time, but it's not enough to say, oh, why do we have to do this? By no means. You want to be there to help someone, and having that training enables you to react quickly. So it's very welcomed.
The two Pennsylvania laws also require student athletes to be taken out of practice or games immediately if they show signs of cardiac arrest or a concussion. Athletes can't get back on the field until they get the okay from a medical professional. Act 101 of 2011 also requires parents and student athletes to sign a concussion awareness sheet every year.
What was the response? You said you have talked to some football coaches about it. What was kind of been the response you've been hearing about these two laws?
They're very concerned, and everybody wants to be proactive about it. And part of the requirement of parents actually knowing, listen, your kid could have serious injury playing a sport, and these are signs you need to look for. It helps because parents, they need to speak up. If you think your child is being put out there too much, or your child is at a certain risk, or maybe your child plays at a different level, the parents also are responsible to communicate to the coach and say something to the coach. And I think it's good because the coaches are there mainly on a volunteer level, and they care about these kids, and it's a wonderful dynamic. But it's good to have the parents involved as well.
Well, parents are better educated now. I mean, you watch ESPN, you watch the news, you read the newspapers, and parents now understand what the role of a certified trainer is, and they look forward to having somebody there to look after their kids. I mean, 30 years ago, suck it up, you're all right, you'll be fine. But now, I think parents are becoming more concerned that, hey, there are things that could happen. Let's let the people who are trained to do this, let them handle it. And I think parents over the years have become more in tune to listen to what I have to say. Like back early in the career, I don't think parents were paying too much attention to what I had to say. But now I think parents, whatever you say, you're the guy that knows what you're doing. So it took a long while, it took a slow process, but I think it's pretty good now.
Pennsylvania State Representative Tara Toohill played softball, volleyball, and ran track at the Hazelton Area High School and remembers Magic from her playing days. Both Toohill and Magic think it's great that the government got involved with student-athlete safety.
I think that it's important when you have an increase in serious injuries occurring with children and student athletes. At some point, it rises to the level where the government says we really need to look into having uniformity and making sure that on the ground in our communities, people are following a certain standard. And that's basically, it's the rise in statistics of these children getting hurt that made the government decide we need a standard with serious injury and a standard with concussions especially.
I think it's a great thing that the government's getting involved in, and I wish they would take it to the point where they would make it a law that every high school in the country should have access to a certified athletic trainer on a daily basis. But the fact that the government's getting involved, the Minnesota Vikings, they just set up a nice grant, and they're going to be providing medical services to some of the school districts in Minnesota who don't have certified trainers. Part of the money's come from the NFL, part of the money's come from the Minnesota Vikings, but they're taking the first step. I mean, the Vikings are taking the first step to go out and do something really good where they're going to provide services to these schools that don't have a certified trainer.
Currently, there is no law in Pennsylvania that requires secondary schools in the state to hire an athletic trainer. The Pennsylvania Athletic Trainers Society says their goal is to see every secondary school in the Commonwealth provide athletic training services in the near future. So Magic may see more changes before he steps down as the most tenured athletic trainer in District 2 of the PIAA.
Some of the big things that have made the changes are, number one, the PIAA has changed a lot of rules, okay? And the fact that they've changed rules is, the intent of changing a rule is to make sure the athlete is safe doing what they're doing. I mean, you can't even think about hitting someone in a football game with your head anymore, because you're going to get a penalty for sure and probably get thrown out of the game. 30 years ago, coaches used to tell you, take that head and stick it in his ribs, So the rule changes. The equipment has gotten much, much better. Okay, there's definitely an upgrade in the equipment, with football and all the other sports. So the equipment issue is big. From the medical aspect, I mean, we have to go on the internet and read something every day to try to keep up with this. I mean, it's ever changing. The way we used to take care of severe injuries 30 years ago is not even close to how we do it now. So between rule changes, equipment improvements, the medical knowledge that's out there as to how to treat this the best way possible, it's all changing, and it changes every day. So those are some of the big things.
After this break, we'll talk boxing and the next episode of Out of Left Field. Out of Left Field is brought to you in part by Coordinated Health Hazleton Campus. Better together. Welcome back to Out of Left Field. On episode number 2, we will be stopping by the Hazleton 1 Community Center and the Hazleton Integration Project, and one of the athletes we'll be speaking with is 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, Tim Witherspoon.
Well, when I get introduced to them, most of them don't remember me. Most of the young kids don't remember me as a heavyweight champion of boxing or sparring with Muhammad Ali or nothing like that. But when they go home and look on the internet, thank God there's internet. When they go home and they look and they come back, they're really amazed. When I meet them the second time, they're like, I saw you, and it really impresses them. And I like to see that, because then I know that's an alley. That's a way I can get in if I'm trying to help. That's a good way that I can get into them. Get into their head and everything. So that happens a lot. Tim Witherspoon, I think I heard that name. And then they go home and ask their parents, or they see it typing in on the internet. Then it's a different story the next day.
So we'll take a more in-depth look on episode 2 at the Hazleton Integration Project. So get ready for that and much, much more. Thanks for joining us on Out of Left Field. Until next time, take it easy.